Alright, so as most of you are probably already aware, due to hearing it repeatedly used in words spoken, that I've employed a descriptive term, the externalists, quite a few times here in my video expositions, and it has apparently left many of you wondering, Sage, just what exactly is an externalist? Please clarify this terminology and its etymological implications. Who and what is an externalist? Yes, indeed. A good question. And I will surely deliver upon the behest of this request. So many of you, for such a long time now, have always assumed that there are an innumerable amount of ideological positions in this existence. The insinuation from the many different appearances perceived with the perceptual sense organs seems to indicate that there is a massive network of contrasting theories, a ubiquitous plethora of very advanced complex systems of thought. Which philosophy is the closest to being in accord with the truth? What branch of science is the most accurate model of the physical existence? Which theological teaching best describes reality and the reason for its production? What mathematical equation represents the universe with the utmost detailed precision? These are questions that have been in the forefront of the minds of existential explorers for thousands of years, wrestling with ideas like what group should one join, which oath should one take, what knowledge should one study, which beliefs should one embrace. For many explorers, these inquiries can often take a lifetime, with the expiration of the mortal creature coming long before any conclusive answer can be reached. Or, as is more commonly the case with the majority of our mentally sedentary masses, one strict belief is latched onto early in life and then blindly and stubbornly clung to for the duration of the lifespan. Either way, our subject goes to the grave without ever having received a restorative rejuvenation, and the subsequent qualitative abundance that comes with finally being able to get an elusive sip of the rare, precious truth. The reason why of which is due to the configurations of a delusional conditioning that eventually transmutes into a default faulty mindset, the direct result of an existential outlook that assumes an incorrect conceptualization of reality. This is what I have often referred to as the externalization conditioning, and its reach extends across almost all schools of thought, in philosophy, science, religion, politics, or any other kind of ideological belief system in the entire spectrum of the subjective human existence. So, with this in mind, any and all individuals who have set up camp on this specious foundational assumption will inevitably be completely off the mark with reality. Just like when you are buttoning up your shirt in the morning, and you fasten that first button in the wrong hole. As long as that first button is wrong, every other subsequent button will also be wrong. The only way you're going to rectify this error is by going back and getting that first button right. Much the same could be said about the current description of reality. For so long as we are trying to grapple with the meaning of existence, with the incorrect premise that reality is an objective medium, independent of the mind, we will never find a way to the truth. This is what ties up explorers and wastes inordinate amounts of their time, as they often spend their whole lifetimes sifting through a multitude of ideas and concepts, unaware that any, every, and all of them will not be the truth. But sage, that isn't fair. How can you assert that your view is the truth and that everyone else's view is a lie? Well, perhaps that would be unfair if it were true, but it isn't. And not because it's my opinion, but rather because what I'm alluding to is true regardless of any individual's opinion. You see, this isn't about anyone's view, or opinion, or the subjective snapshot of an ego. This is about what's found to be true across all of consciousness, despite whether an ego believes it or not. Like you can believe that there's no such thing as the sun all you want. But no matter how hard you hold that belief, or how strongly your opinion or view reinforces this belief, it doesn't make it any more credible as a truth. Understanding the nature of reality has to do with increasing clarity of awareness, not through parsing knowledge, phenomena, and world inventory in the correct manner or right sequence. And this is why I say that the truth comes even before the subject, as any subject is part of the illusion. Despite seemingly occupying a situated position as a point of view that resides in a head and peeks out from a set of eyeballs onto a separated external world. Despite this, that isn't your location. As even the concept of a location is yet another construct of the dream. And speaking of the dream, we can pose this question to the phantasmagorical realm as well. Upon awakening and reflecting back on the dream, were you the persona? Were you in a world? Where were these items? What was the actual location of the imaginative reference point? A similar question could also be posed to images on a projection screen when we are watching a film. Look! We are seeing personas walking around in different settings, different characters with seemingly different narratives involved in a plot line. Wow! But what is the origin of these items? Are answers about the truth of this projection going to be found by investigating the details of the movie plot? If not, then where should one be focusing their query? What is the root qualia seated behind and manifesting through the projection lens, oft referred to as the third eye? What is it that is nowhere to be seen, but uses a visual sense organ to facilitate the seeing of all visions seen? What is the identical unmanifested source of all manifested consciousness? If you can answer these, you will have arrived at the core of the free and clear, the room-making nothingness that is completely formless, but nevertheless produces all form. The fundamental essence of the one true empty self. That is without any appearance, nor can be labeled as anything. Sometimes referenced as total awareness. It is a pure potentiality, the primary agency. That which is not a that, nor is an is, nor an isn't. When this unknowable uncertainty has been revealed through a removal of the blanket of ignorance, it can then be clearly seen and known firsthand that what we call reality is inseparably interconnected with the pure light of the truth. This is the truth, and this truth is eternal and infinite, which means that it has no distinctions, has no limits, has no position, and has no divisions. And as such, there certainly can be no such thing as anything considered as external to itself. The truth of this is simple, but only seems confusing and hard to grasp due to being considered from a delusional position, aka the false assumptive premise. When this is understood, then it becomes evident that there isn't any need to make any distinctions between all of the many various ideological camps that are all supposedly clashing against each other in a quest for the truth. They are all false, and hence can be streamlined accordingly. Clarity makes it obvious that, despite the presence of a myriad of different camps with a myriad of different flags, there is really only one group, albeit unorganized and at odds with itself, that stands in opposition to the truth. And this group can be called the Externalists. Their differences don't matter, because they all approach reality with the same pervasive erroneous assumption that a so-called objective reality exists independently of the pure mind. That somehow locations and identities within a sensory data feed are somehow in isolated arrangements within the whole of the sensory data feed. This fragmented conception is then called reality, and hence taken as reality, in opposition to the lost understanding that reality is the pure mind itself, and is in no way separated, divided, or compartmentalized from any of its projected imaginings. So it doesn't really matter if you are dealing with a theist, an atheist, an agnostic, or a pantheist. It doesn't matter if you are opposed by the arguments of a liberal, a conservative, a moderate, or an independent. It makes no difference if it's conspiracy theory, chaos theory, string theory, or parallel universe theory. And it's irrelevant if you are arguing with a philosopher, a theologian, a scientist, or a mathematician. In the end, they are all externalists, and need not be distinguished from each other by any other such additional qualities. Indeed, to get wrapped up in the specifics of their arguments is to be successfully distracted and diverted away from the truth. So you need not worry about any of those specifics, because they all have their foundations upon the fallacious assumptive conditioning of objectivity. But what about God and heaven? Externalist. Big Bang and evolution? Externalist. Race, gender, or sexuality? Externalist. Flat Earth, Illuminati, UFOs, the Mandela Effect? Externalist. All around you, everywhere you look, everyone is an externalist. And yet, but why is any of this at all important? It's understandable that you might not think as such. After all, your whole life, all you've come to know and accept as a norm has been a choice between lies. So, when this is the case, it's not that far of a stretch for one to consider that what anyone happens to choose as a belief is trivial, for it really is an irrelevant choice. For no matter what one chooses to believe, it will be a lie. And hence, while not an uncommon occurrence, will still be a consequence of enormous impact, despite the importance of this escaping the consciousness of the egoic identity. When all you have to choose from are lies, your choices really don't mean squat. But when it comes to choosing between the truth and a lie, the magnitude of the choice is of crucial significance. It's like that first top hole on the button-down shirt again. The consequence of this one transaction is of paramount importance, as it will decide much of everything that will inevitably follow. And the implications of what this will really ultimately decide is of even double critical primacy, as it will come to be a choice between clarity or delusion, responsibility or servitude, power or acquiescence. For with the externalization conditioning, responsibility for the whole of reality is attributed to something else outside of yourself. And so it doesn't really matter whether the attribution is to a god or to external materials with emergent properties. The responsibility is somewhere else. And hence power is also assigned elsewhere as a result. See, you didn't know that was part of the deal, did you? Yeah, they deliberately left that one in the small print. A slight little imperceptible detail of enormous gravity, glossed over in naive oversight. Yeah, in case you didn't know, if you don't take responsibility for all of reality, the power will simply go to the illusion. Hey, that's just the way it is. It's right there in front of you to seize. And all you have to do is reach out and take hold of it. But if you won't do it, then it'll just be simply assigned elsewhere. No biggie. Don't worry about it. There's absolutely no problem with continuing to sustain dominance over you. This is the lot of an externalist.